Greetings, ladies and gents, and welcome to today's Reddit Quickie from the subreddit HFY, called Monster, Machine, or Man. Written by Legal. The link to the original story will be down below, and as always, I hope that you enjoy. Hickscuff's Norges looked around at the fuel station's commissary for a moment as he got a number of looks. As usual, he stood out. Most Siskin Squaw did, due to the colourful feathers. Norges was particularly vibrant with red over most of his body. With white circles around his eyes, his feet and hands were coated in blue, but there was also splashes of yellow. Norges used to enjoy standing out amongst the drab aliens that he had come across, but he realized now that for the life of adventuring it might not be so great. Someone easy to notice was always easy to remember, which could be good and it could be bad. He hoped that he didn't owe anyone any money, and he looked over the aliens looking back at him. But soon enough, though, the other patrons went back to what they were doing, and he sighed softly, heading towards the bar. Since dropping out of the university, he'd been trying to make a name for himself. Reading those epic poems and voyages had given him a case of wanderlust that no book could cure. He had used up what he had left of his tuition money and bought a Krizik's Comet and decided to look for either a crew to take him on or to join him or a captain in need of a scout. But it wasn't working out for him. No one wanted Siskin Squaw captain thanks to the stereotypes, and no captain wanted a scout that was easy to spot. He'd been raking up quite a debt lately, just trying to find ways to adventure or make money. This was perhaps his last hope. He'd heard that the sector had seen an unusual number of wrecks recently, and was hoping to find those who would join him to salvage the effort. It wasn't a romantic and adventuring that he dreamed about, but he needed some money to start paying off his own debt. The problem was that he'd heard how dangerous the sector was. Some new species had shown up and was making life hard for all involved. At the bar, he noticed two four-armed Grassin, very similar features. Brothers, perhaps. Their pale blue skin blending in with the somber mourning clothes that they were wearing. Though, despite the clothes, they did look like they were in mourning. He saw the numerous blades each had strapped about their body. There were some other normal-looking ruffians and thug types around the bar with them, but he noticed a hunched-over Polbjorn at the end. His pressure suit was more ragged than the Norges had seen before. Some sort of silvery tape was covering numerous patches of the suit. How he managed to keep a breathable atmosphere in there, the Norges had no idea. As he approached the bar, the only open spot was next to the Grissom, so he stood past and took a seat. He motioned for the bartender, and then, as the machine came over, he quietly ordered, "1 hot courageous tea, please." "Ha! Tea!" one of the Grassin next to him exclaimed, snapping Norges on the shoulder hard. "Aren't you in the wrong place for ordering tea, lad?" Norges gulped down as he looked over the much bigger alien for a moment. If they served tea, why would this be the wrong place for it? The Grissom laughed at his comment, though he wasn't sure why. "Is that your comet out there?" he asked, and the Norges looked over his shoulder and out of the viewport of the ships being fueled up, and he nodded with his ship was mentioned. "It is. It's a very fine ship." Suddenly the second Grissom moved to Norges' other side and the sandwiching in between them. He began to feel rather nervous. With a ship like that, it would be quite easy for us to complete our task. "And what might that be?" Norges asked, looking from one to another with a nervous expression. "We hunt a beast." The Grissom roared together, drawing the attention of everyone else in the bar, except for the hunched-over Polbjorn at the end of the bar for some reason. He just kept quietly sucking down the drink through the straw in his pressurized suit's faceplate. The Grassin on the Norges' left continued. "Many cycles ago an expedition was formed to explore the Sophic tomb on a nearly barren moon far from here. A tundra of wild animals and exotic plants no less. 11 entered the tomb, and none of the expedition came out. Instead, they woke something horrible deep inside." The bar was quiet now as the patrons listened to the tale being woven. This was no ordinary beast either. The Grissom, to his right, spoke up now. It had been wounded while killing the expedition. The entire limb had been removed, but it did not slow down. He nearly whispered the last part as murmurs overtook the crowd. It bled, leaving behind a trail of its innards from its mouth of the tomb. We assumed that we could track this trail and find the body of the beast not far past. But no. He nearly shouted that, and everyone leaned back before one on the left started. Across this barren tundra, we followed the trail of the wounded beast, shocked when we realized the bleeding had somehow stopped without medical aid. As he traveled, they consumed toxic plants rich with all sorts of chemicals scientists use to make biological weapons. But not only plants. It hunted small animals, so voracious was its appetite. Then we discovered that it scavenged the kills of other predators, leaving nothing behind but bone. No predator in the wastes would touch it, or perhaps they couldn't. Taking turns and each one and spoke again. We even found dwellings made of nothing but ice and the beast used for shelter. Ice. Nothing could stop this beast from its goal. On a journey that covered nearly half a moon, it did not stop. Finally, it found the ship that the expedition had left behind. The ship belonged to our clan and our sister who had gone through the expedition, which is why the Grantham slapped his hand on the Norges' shoulder again, making him jump. We need your ship to track it down and kill it, to bring revenge to our family. Well, that's a noble goal, the Norges stammered, but I need money for fuel, and I have debts. What can you pay? We will pay you in blood. The Grantham growled out, and the Norges gulped heavily as they started to reach out for their blades. But then there was a whine of a charge at a pistol, and the Grantham turned. The Norges as well. Amid the tables of the bar area was a solitary figure, a black-cloaked cavist who looked familiar. Norges gasped and then realized he was looking at Sure Shot, Sven, and a wanted criminal. But Norges thought that Sven worked with a team. That's a nice goal you two have, avenging your sister, but I need that ship more urgently than you need to, I'm afraid. You see, that creature you're talking about is probably just a slug, something slow that can dissolve its food easily as it moves. Hardly a threat to those of us who can walk around faster than a Lovian cow. There were some nervous chuckles from around the bar. But what I am dealing with is not a lot more persistent. I'm sure some of you recognize me from the wanted posters. The alien pulled his cloak back a bit, and revealing the 7 yellow eyes and the scarred pincers which marked him more clearly as a Svern. I don't mind telling you a cycle or so back, my team hit a Javartian mechanic. You know the sort, prefers the company of robots to organics. Sun shifted then, extending out his other hand from under his cloak so that the Grasson reached for his blade. He made it clear that he had a pistol aimed at each of them now, and he settled down a bit. It wasn't anything personal, he just had some information that we were looking for. And a job's a job. Well, it turns out that the old mechanic had something in his workshop none of us had ever seen before. In fact, I can't say that I've actually seen it. It was big. One arm was a fist that you'd expect, but the other was a claw, and it had one big red orb that never shut. It took up most of the head, just always peering around, bright red and evil as anything that I'd ever seen. Well, this robot took offense to what we'd done. It destroyed our ship's engines before we could even take off, and then our mechanics who went to investigate the trouble. It slit their throats open and hung them from the ceiling of the engine room, just to let all of their blood flow down into the pool for us to find. The hardened criminal shivered at the memory. Well, that was just the start. He came for us, and of course we ran. Thankfully, I knew the Gibbelston had another ship several day cycles from his workshop. Well, those were the longest day cycles of my life. That robot didn't stop. No matter how tired we were, or how short our sleep cycles were, it kept coming. Before long, not one of us would go off alone, even to relieve ourselves. We would just see the gleaming red light in the distance, day and night, for 3 solar cycles. We only managed to get a mere 6 sleep cycles in that time, as we tried to run. It just kept coming. The alien sighed for a moment. Well, in the end, it got everyone but me. I got on that ship and I left the planet, but I know it's been following me. Don't ask me how I know. I just know. So, I've been bouncing between fuel stations since then. But the Gibbleton's ship broke down 2 solar cycles ago, and I need to leave. So the Comet will be my ship now. Don't I get a say in this? Nord just asked. No. And if you don't like it, this little Siscon squaw, you can complain to the goddess when you see her. Swirin responded coldly. Norges saw the Grassin start to tug on their knives, perhaps ready to try and rush the alien. But then a horrible scratching sound made everyone in the bar grasp and clutched at their ears, or whatever auditory sensories that they had. Then they were all looking at the Pulbalin at the end of the bar. He had dragged something over the metallic faceplate of his pressure chute. You're both wrong, and you're both right, the Pulbalin said with a scratchy voice like no Pulbalin Norges had heard. Wrong and right about what? Svin asked, and the aliens in the pressure suit slowly turned to face the rest of the bar. His visor closed, for some reason. You're not talking about 2 different creatures. You're talking about one. The Grassin and Svirin started to argue, but the Pulverin dragged that shard of metal across the faceplate again, and a horrible sound made everyone stop. What you're talking about is a human. They're new to the sector. I'm sure you've heard the rumors. Well, I've seen them. You can't be serious. One species, both beast and robot, one of the Grassins exclaimed. Oh, indeed. But that's only because you've got the part wrong and part right, like I said. You see, not all of them are part robot, but it is easy to think that. What? Nothing can be part robot, Sven snorted derisively. Any organic would die if fused with metal. Oh, but not these, the Pulverin responded. It starts when they're young. You see, they have too many bones to fit inside their mouths. They have to use metal straps and twist and bend these bones into shape. They've got special doctors that will drill. The alien mimicked the sound of the drill, and the Norges shuddered. Holes into the mouth bones, and even yank them out. He jerked his hand, which made the Norges and most of the bar patrons gasp in surprise. If they break other bones, they sometimes drill metal plates into their flesh to hold it together. Sometimes they even do that to their skulls. Wounds in the head, they don't kill them. They just patch up the hole with some metal. They say it lets them pick up radio signals in their brains. Other times they'll seal up the cut with glue, just to let their body sort it out once the wound is plugged. Then there are times when they'll even burn their own flesh to cauterize an injury. Impossible, the Svern grasped, as he sounded worried now. That's why you think that you found was a robot. Even hundreds of cycles ago, before the species had even mastered the atom, they would replace lost limbs with metal. If they lost a hand, they'd replace it with a metal hook. The alien shouted, his hand raising up into a hook shape, which made everyone gasp. Or they'd jam a wooden stake into the end of the leg if they lost that. Some lost to disease, but many more survived the process. Their bodies had hardened by evolution to resist plagues and poisons, and other toxins, any one of which would kill half of this room. The bar was quiet now, and they listened in a horrified fascination to the Bulbaron. You see, they were scavengers. Even on their home planet, these creatures didn't start at the top. Instead, they used guile and endurance like no other. The robot you think you faced, or the beast you tracked, you said it yourselves. It seemed to stop. On and on it went, solar cycle over solar cycle. That's what they do. You run, you might not see them for a bit, and suddenly, there they are. You run further, maybe you get a bit more time, and then there they are again. Across the entire continents they would track their prey. Norges had a beak opened wide as he listened, horrified at the sound of these aliens. Now they have something called cybernetics. They actually practice the ability to chop off limbs, replacing them with metal. More gasps as the pulverin spoke. The metals that poison so many don't even faze these creatures. Their flesh will start to fuse around it, accepting it as if it was part of their natural self all along. Their blood and innards, you tracked. He looked at the Grassin, remains of a lost limb it tried to save. The red eye you saw in the dark. He looked at the Severin, an eye replaced with metal and power. How do you know this? The Severin asked. Because I've seen him. The pulverin turned away from the crowd, looking down at it to his drink. Only the eye isn't that big. It just seems that way because you're scared. In fact, it looks more. The pulverin reached up suddenly and yanked the visor away as he turned. Like this! The red beam swept across the bar. Screaming started as everyone realized that it wasn't a pulverin at all. It was a human in a dead pulverin suit. Norja screamed at the grass and tried to pull him away, no doubt to get the keys to his ship. But there was noise and screaming and blurring motion. Before Norjas really knew what was going on, and he was on the floor, he was shoved down, somehow. Trying to not look up as he heard more screams and big booms, something warm splattered across his back as he crawled down the bar. Then, when he saw what was clear, he reached up, putting himself up over it as he could hide behind the bar. He just clutched his hands over his head until the screaming and booms finally stopped. Slowly, very slowly, he pulled his hands away from his head, and he slowly got up, toning as he gripped the edge of the bar, and he edged up to peer over it. All around the bar were dead aliens. The Grassin were both slain, but Serin's head was nowhere to be found, but his body was draped over a table. And the human was still alive. Oh, goddess! Norja dropped back down. All right, fun's over, the human said. I know you're behind the bar. Come on out. Norja whimpered as he slowly stood up. The red eye of the human scanned over him for a moment as he now saw the human had another eye. An organic one. They shouldn't trouble you for your ship anymore. I've been hunting this one for a while. He pointed at Sverin, confirming the criminal story. Sort of. He killed a guy who patched me up. Then he tapped the side of his head where the metal implant replaced his one eye. That's it? Norjas asked. You don't want to feast on me or steal my ship? Nah. Although it is a great ship. How would you like to join my crew? What? Norjas blinked, confused now. I could use a good ship and a good crew. You could be the first fella had information stolen from that mechanic, you see. Some sort of lost Lacat treasure that I want to claim. You'll let me join your crew? The Norjas asked, focusing on the offer. Yeah. But I'm a Siskon squaw, a creature as terrifying and as powerful as you. Will you let me join your crew? He asked. Sure. You look like a parrot. And every good pirate needs a good parrot. What? Norjas asked and blinked. Never mind. What's your name? The human asked. Higgs skips Norjas. That's a mouthful. I don't like it. How about the first part? Higgs. I like Higgs. Well, I'm Xavier Tetch. The human pulled a knife out of his back and then the Norjas grasped. He could see more cuts along the human's body, but he didn't seem to mind or care about any of them. And this creature wanted him to be part of his crew. Though something else said Norjas. Wait, that's your name. It's Mooring. What about Blood Eye? Blood Eye, the human asked, sounding doubtful. That's hardly a catchy name. I don't think it will stick. Now come on, Higgs. We've got treasure to find. The human turned and began walking out of the bar, over the dead body, stumping through their blood and pulled onto the floor. Did he dare to follow the crazy alien? That human. Well, any good Siskon squaw could understand the value of being friends with the toughest, meanest, and most violent predator around. So he began to follow the human, figuring that he would never find better. End of story. And that, my friends, is the end of this Reddit Quickie. I hope that you enjoyed. If you'd like to support the channel or the author, all the stuff is down below. And as always, I hope that you guys have a good one, and I'll see you in the next story. Cheers. Greetings, ladies and mental gents, and welcome to today's Reddit Quickie from the subreddit HFY, called